Welcome to Fix It Thursday, and I thought a really good thing to work on today would be something that I got a little taste of last night at my Toastmasters meeting about trying to pack in too much information into a presentation. The desire seems to be, especially with people in coaching and people who are talking about personal and professional development topics, to try and give as much value as possible. And certainly that's very appreciated. But the downside of that, and there is a downside to it, is that very often, as much as you are teaching a lot, very little of that is going to be remembered afterwards. Personally, I believe that it is far more valuable to teach a few principles as well as possible, to have them be memorable as well. So even when you think you're packing a ton of value in, you are not really doing that, because you are actually overloading people to a point where unless they can watch it back and back and back and review the information, they're probably not going to remember very much about it. So less is more when it comes to presentations. Now, anyone who's ever done Toastmasters knows that you have between 5 and 7 minutes to give a presentation. This means you need to be very clear about what you're going to edit out of your presentation to make sure that you're only delivering the stuff that really needs to be in there. So you must practice taking out all the waffly bits. Anything that doesn't need to be there should be removed. Otherwise, you are probably going to end up going over time. If you are talking about a teaching area, such as something like principles of personal development, then to have 2 or 3 key points that you can put into your talk is going to be much more valuable than having 5 or 10, even though you think, I've just shared all this amazing information with everybody. What's going to be the end result of that is that people are not going to remember what you talked about, and probably going to find that your presentation overruns, and that people don't really appreciate that when it happens as well. So do yourself a favor and get good at editing. I think although you don't need to script your talks out in advance, some people prefer to do that, and that's okay, but some people don't and prefer to just bullet point it. You should at least be able to practice it enough times before you deliver it, hopefully, to know how long it runs and to be able to edit stuff out. One of the main reasons why I like to script my presentations in certain circumstances anyway, is because then I see what needs editing, then I see what needs pulling out. I don't necessarily read from the script. I don't always find that very helpful. Like right now, this is just me talking, no script involved. But when it comes to delivering something from a presentation perspective, have your 3 clear points. Now, there's really only a couple of points in here. One is to get good at editing, and the other is to have less is more. That a few clear points are going to be much more valuable if they can be remembered than sticking in a ton of information. And those are the things that I want you to take away from this today. There are techniques that can help you make things even more memorable in your presentations. And those are some of the things that I teach when I teach presentation skills and tools. But right now, one of the best things you can work on doing is editing yourself down. This is just as true for speakers as it is for authors. Take out anything extraneous that doesn't need to be there, and make sure you're just giving gold, as pure as possible, in a format that can be easily remembered, and you will find that your presentations will be more memorable. You will be more memorable. You'll keep yourself in time. Better to deliver a clear message with a few points in time than to deliver a ton of information with unclear points out of time that people aren't going to remember. So these aren't just things for people who do Toastmasters. This is for anyone who gives any kind of presentation. And one thing I will say with this, and come back to it, is if you don't already use something like the Cicero cards from Sephiroth Publishing that I've talked about before, then I recommend you get yourself a pack, because it's really good how it helps you to structure your presentation and to be clear about what you're putting in there, and to help you take away any stuff that doesn't need to be there. So if you want a tool that's going to help you do this easier, then I recommend getting hold of those Cicero cards. I'll put a link in the description as well. And leave me your comments in the comments area as well as to what has been your experience with talks and presentations that pack in too much information. Have you been guilty of doing that? Is this something that you are going to work on, or that you have worked on and improved? I'd love to hear what your experience in this area has been, and if there's anything you've learned from this today that you are going to implement. Tomorrow we'll be back with a bit of Friday philosophy, so I look forward to seeing you then.